What's up, everybody? I'm Jameer, and you're listening to The Vanguard.
Welcome on. Welcome to the show. It's we're so happy to have you.
I'm glad to be here. Very happy to be here. Very excited.
Yeah, no, we've been getting you in here for a while, but we finally have you. With people around the studio, and it's been a long time coming. So everyone's really happy to have you here.
For sure, for sure, for sure.
So yeah, let's just talk about some of the songs that you performed. I just wanted to know like why those, like why did you pick those songs specifically?
Um, there's some of my favorite songs to just, like On the Way, Ride or Die. Those are some of my favorite songs to perform. Like period.
Yeah,
Just the energy from On the Way is just like it wakes you up. It gets you hype. It's definitely it's a true show starter, I think. And Ride or Die, that's just one of my favorite records. I always call it my simp record. Like
yeah,
as I always say, that's my simp record.
hmm
Because it's sweet. It's sweet.
it's
But
sweet.
but it's honest. You know what I mean? And it feels good. And that's what I like to do with my music. I like to make people feel good. So that's why I chose those two. And then Perfectly Imperfect and Understand. Those are two unreleased records, and
hmm
I've just been really excited to honestly get those records out myself. So just it felt really. I felt like I needed to do that, and I'm glad I did. I'm glad I did. It felt really good.
No, yeah, and we're more than happy to provide a space for you to be able to do that. And
So
love the Nipsey Hustle shout out too. It was
yeah,
awesome,
yeah. One
really
time, man.
great.
Rest in peace, Nip.
Yeah,
Yeah,
rest in
yeah.
peace, Nip. And yeah, they I think they really flowed really well with one another. Got some hype songs, got some slow songs, so it was a good time.
Word.
Yeah, we're just gonna take it back. So you were born in Philly, but you were raised in Tennessee, and I'd imagine there'd be a lot of like differences in rap style and flow.
Yeah.
So what were those differences, and like what have you or how have you used them to your advantage in your career or your artistic expression?
Yeah, come. Oh, so yeah, when I started, when I, so yeah, being born in Philly, raised in Philly, like get a lot of that East Coast influence. A lot of that, a lot of the music I was listening to when I was in Philly was like my grandparents' music or like my dad, my uncles, things like that. Excuse me. And yeah, they had my first earliest, music. That's where I first listened to music was there, and there was like a lot of soul music. The Temptations, Delphonics, Heat Wave.
Motown.
Yeah, a lot of Motown music for my early stages, and then once I was introduced to hip hop
hmm
by my dad, it was a lot of it was just East Coast for the most part. DMX, uh, G Unit, all those Jay Z, all
Yeah.
those cats. But then moving to Tennessee was just that southern, you get that southern bass. It's more it's a lot it's more laid back, but it's like it's gritty too. Um, so just using both of those to my advantage is like I that's where I think I have that uh mix of where I can do like hype tracks that have like that's heavy bass hitting, and I have like the more cool laid back tracks like After the Drop, Ride or Die, Summer Ain't Over, those type of tracks. Like they're they have that more like down south type of feel. It makes you want to move a bit more. So
Yeah. No, being able to fuse those styles together is really nice because I feel like a lot of rappers don't do enough of that. They try to stick to their roots, especially
mm,
southern rap or even New York,
I
East
feel you.
Coast rap.
Yeah, definitely, especially East Coast. Yeah,
Yeah.
especially East Coast rap, New York rap. Yeah, like that's a style in its own. That's a beautiful art form. Yeah,
No,
definitely.
literally. And this is just kind of a general question, but what is Family Comes First? Can you speak on the label, the message, the creation, if you're involved in it at all?
Yeah. So, family comes first. It's actually the first tattoo that I've ever gotten when I was like 16.
Yeah.
Um, and it was actually my cousin, my older cousin Q. It was his first tattoo that he got when he was like 17, and he was a basketball player, and he ended up getting hurt, and and he was in the hospital for a good long time, and that's where the family comes first thing like all originated from was my cousin. It was his first tattoo, and he was my favorite cousin. And to honor him, like I wanted that to be my first tattoo, and and just that's just the values and everything that I stand on. You know, that family comes first. It was long before the tattoos came. You know, it was just the values that we hold in my family, in my household, and things like that. You know, it's truth. You know, family does come first. You know, and and that's not just subjected to people that you're related to. It's not just about people by blood. Like family comes first is the people that make you feel like home, the people that make you feel comfortable, that you can be yourself around. So I
Yeah.
have close friends, from the South that we've been connected for over 12 years, 13 years. You know what I mean? We're not related, but those are my brothers. So yeah, that's where family comes first comes into play.
Yeah, it's always good to include those like family friends that you've had for years and years.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
it seems though it has a really big importance in your music as well. You know, when you
Hmm.
speak on your grandmother and how much she means to you, and it's really really nice to hear.
Yeah, yeah. That's my best friend, man.
Mhm.
My best friend. Shout out Grandma Peaches, man.
Mhm.
For always and forever. Shout out Grandma Peaches. My love.
Yeah.
Keep it with me everywhere.
And it doesn't take much research to recognize how much you volunteer and how involved you are in the community. And I just wanted to ask more about that as well. And how do those experiences shape the message you want to convey in those music tracks that you produce?
Um, it Cause a lot of my music is like I try to be relative. You know what I mean? But not in a sense of like forcing it, but that's just how it naturally comes out. A lot of my music is based off like experiences that I have or um places I've been, things I've been through. So um when I'm volunteering in the community and things like that, like it's easy to it makes it easy to translate because those are the things that I make music about is what I'm doing or the things I see around me. So uh that's what I want to those are the messages that it's easy to convey those messages when I'm living. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like a lot of it's easy to rap for certain artists to rap about certain things, whether it's they do they play sports. What I'm saying it's easier for them to rap about sports and connect with sports players and stuff like that. And so it's like for me, it's like the everyday lifestyle. Is kind of what my music is about. So if I'm out serving my community, it's easier for me to translate that into my music and paint that picture.
Yeah. Are there any other like really large events or experiences that you have that you also try to integrate in your music?
Yeah, I am also influenced by the things that I feed myself to. You know what I mean? So, for instance, like uh, we have this song. Me and some friends of mine that I went to school with. We have this song on SoundCloud. It's called "Love Is the Language," and that
Yeah.
was like big. It was big in around the time of like the beginning of like the Black Lives Matter movement and things like that. So and it was just when I wrote my verse for the song, like I probably wrote it in like 30 minutes because of everything that was happening around. You know what I mean? It just made it easy for me to pour out those emotions and things like that. So I do pull from those bigger life events that's outside of me, outside of just like the music and things like that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, no, all the music and art that was produced from that era it's phenomenal, and it's really great to revisit and see how beautiful it was. You know, of
Mm-hmm.
course it's terrible that it had to be birthed out of a tragedy, especially in the Twin Cities, but it's really great, especially bringing the community together.
One
And
thousand percent. I agree. I
yeah.
agree. Yeah. We. I mean that's even like songs like "Worth It" for instance, like that. Those are that song came from bigger events outside of my life. You know what I mean? Like that came from a deeper place. Saying beyond me. So yeah,
Yeah.
I feel that.
Yeah, I can imagine what kind of a cathartic experience that would be with other people,
Yeah.
artists, rappers. It would be amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
And we're also going to talk about those influences you have. And I just wanted to ask what initially motivated you to want to create music? Was it your family, your community members, or a specific event in your life, like we already mentioned before, with movements, with things that have happened? And you've also mentioned your dad.
Hmm.
Are there any other people within your family that also kind of brought you or put you on to like a specific genre of music or hip hop or
Yeah, well, like I said, I was raised by my grandparents, so they introduced me to like Motown era of music and they before things before and after that. Um, And then my dad actually used to rap when he was younger.
Oh, really?
He did. He actually did. He was really good. He was like Twister before Twister was Twisted. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Or around the time that Twister was becoming Twisted. You know, he was around that era. That was where like some of his influences. So music definitely played a big part of my life. Like before I even thought about dabbling into it. You know,
Yeah.
um, and some of my biggest inspirations. I can't ever do like I can't not pay respect to like those like J. Cole, Kendrick, Drake, Big Sean. You know those guys. Those guys were the guys that carried me all the way through high school. You know, when I was just starting myself, like
Yeah.
when I was just trying to like figure it out and just was loving it for the love of being able to write a song. You know what I mean? Those guys were they helped me shape those beginning foundations of who I was becoming. And being in the South, I was in Tennessee when I first started writing music. I was like 13 when I wrote my first song. I was like 14 when I first started recording in the studio, and by the time I was 15, I was performing. So the South definitely had a big influence on uh, how I was, you know, making music at an early age, while also being influenced by like some of my favorite rappers as well. Cause I was in Knoxville, Tennessee with some of my big homies, man. Shout out Mr. York, shout out my brother Mac Dan,
Yeah.
shout out my brother Wody, shout out my brother Jay. Those guys really took me under their wings when I was just a pup, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they were like my age or a little younger than me, but I was just like 14, 15, and they just took me in and they really, made sure that I wasn't exposed to nothing crazy. And, just because I wanted to come around and be in the studio, I was really hanging out in areas that, maybe I shouldn't have been, but they always showed me love and they definitely kept me, and it was like, go to school, get A's and B's and stuff like that, so yeah. The South played a lot of different things played a big role in my musical influences.
Yeah.
That was a
No.
long answer.
No,
I'm sorry about
that's
that.
just fine.
Yeah.
No, I think it's really nice that you mentioned that the studio is a safe space. I think it's really important that everybody has their own specific places, and I think it's really great that your friends were able to pull you into that and take you out of those places that you knew were a little dangerous, but it is what it is, and it was what it was. But
Yeah, definitely. I mean, man, I wouldn't trade it. I wouldn't trade any of those experiences, man. I like just knowing, cause you gotta know where you come from. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like the
yeah,
first studio I recorded in was in like a garage, in like in the hood. It was like I was in a garage, like in somebody's garage, but it wasn't like a bad studio, but it
no,
was in somebody's garage in the hood, and it was cold. It was really cold. I was freezing in there. Okay, uh, but like I said, I wouldn't take those moments back for nothing because here we are now on the Vanguard, right?
yeah, yeah. You're here in the studio.
So yeah, it's all beautiful.
No, it's those humble beginnings that really make you you.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say sometimes that's where the best tracks are made, in a basement, in a random studio in the back. That's where the music. That's
I can't say those were my best tracks, but they definitely they definitely catapulted me to where I am now. So
yeah.
yeah, no
No,
doubt.
yeah. And in previous interviews, you've also mentioned your love for photography.
Hmm.
And how has taking photos of people, places, and nature influenced your songwriting?
Because well, for one, I just love taking photos. I love taking photos. I have a Sony A6300 camera.
Yeah.
Okay, as I just bought a new lens not long ago, so I'm
Okay.
itching to just take pictures and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I have a secret little like a secret Instagram account.
Okay.
FCF photography. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Okay. You're plugging it here.
It's
Let them know.
just saying. You know what I mean? Just to get an idea. But
Mhm.
like I said, I love taking pictures of people and places, and I think that's a lot of what my music is really about is my experiences with people, or self reflection, things like that. So, taking pictures, it really is just kind of a piggyback a reflection of my songwriting or vice versa. It's like I write about the people in my life, the people I love, the people I cherish, strangers even, and I write about places I've been, places I lived, and things like that, and that translates in my photography as well.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's really great to hear. And you've also, we did mention this before the show, and we were very, very excited to hear about it. But you opened for many, not just one, many multi-platinum selling artists such as Cardi B,
It's like
Trippie Redd, DaBaby. And we just wanted to hear more about that and, yeah, what these shows have taught you and how have you been giving or translating these pieces of information to fellow artists within the Twin Cities.
yeah, I can't say that like every yeah, no. Uh Doing those shows were one, like, honestly, I was trying to create a moment for like the people that I love for the most part. My granny got to see me open up for the Cardi B and the
Wow.
baby. It's my grandparents. They both got to be there to see me do my thing, and that's the biggest thing for me. It's like my grandma was selling T-shirts. She was selling my merch while I was performing for Cardi B. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that's
That was
sweet.
a year before the pandemic too, so
Oh,
that was a lot of people. It was like 17,000 people. It was
oh
like
my gosh.
it was a lot of people.
Yeah.
But yeah, those moments for me was just like, I don't know, ain't none of this promised. You know what I mean? And none of
Hmm.
this, especially when it comes to music. You know what I mean? Like, it goes so fast. The time goes fast. You could be here today, gone tomorrow. You know what I mean? And I just wanted to do whatever I could to create those solid moments for the people I love, to show like, hey, like, a lot of this stuff is possible. And I'm trying, and things like that. Um, but a lot of things that I've learned while having those experiences as well is like, especially from a performance standpoint, is when you're going and doing these big shows and you're opening for these bigger artists, especially if you're at a certain level of like you're not quite um as out there yet.
Hmm.
It could be very nerve wracking. It could be it could be it's very scary. You might be even resistant to do shows like that because of like fear of being booed or not not liked, not accepted and whatnot. But my biggest thing is you know when you accept doing these shows, like, understand that like a lot of these people are coming to see like the main act. You know what I mean? Like, for the most part, like, that's just what it is. There's nothing wrong with accepting that fact. It's the truth. But then the other thing is like when you're performing in from a large crowd like that, and maybe they're not as hype as you want them to be, or whatever. A lot of times it's because they don't know who you are. How can they be hyped
Right.
with you if they don't know your songs?
Right.
Like, the beat can sound good, and a lot of people, I think a lot of artists rely on their beats to like get the reactions they want. But it's like a lot of times, like, the people are listening. A lot of people want to know exactly what it is you're talking about, why I should be hyped for you, not just like, oh, you got like banging beats, or you're just jumping around on stage. What are you talking about?
Hmm.
So a lot of the big takeaways, like, a lot of people, they might not like you because they're not hyped for you. You know what I mean? They're just analyzing you. They're checking you out. So keep giving your all. Keep doing like what you're supposed to be doing. Keep rocking out the show. Eventually, you're gonna, you're gonna win them over by simply enjoying yourself, by simply having a great time. People love to see people having a good time. I know I do.
Hmm.
When I'm out in traffic or whatever like that, and I'm driving and I look over and I see some woman that's like jamming to her music in her own world,
Yeah.
I get happy. I start jamming with her because it's like, why would I not? Why would I not join it? Why would I not hype you up?
Yeah.
I want to elevate your moment. So it's like, as long as you're having a good time and you show that you're confident, you can win the people over. You can win the large crowd over. So that's one of the big things, takeaways, is like, don't get too overwhelmed if they're not reacting the way you want. Just keep doing you.
Yeah, I think that's a really important piece of information to have, for new artists, because I don't want to say that all new artists are getting, turned down or too scared because they feel like they're not being accepted by the community for whatever reason. But
Right.
yeah, the point that you made, that these people are checking them out, analyzing them. They want to know what you're about, and it's not just about being hype immediately, because
Right.
people need to know
1000%.
you. Yeah. And it makes sense that you would say your biggest inspirations were, J. Cole and Kendrick and Sean, and wanting to have more of a message behind your songwriting and not just rely on the beat, not just rely on the 808 or the the hi hat and
the trap hats and the heavy, yeah. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, if I get one of them records, I mean, it's on and popping. But
yeah,
yeah, there's more to the music than that. So
yeah, no, for real. So like I've said before, you've opened for some crazy big artists, and we just wanted to know, how did that happen? Did somebody just come like reach out to you? Did you make some crazy connection at like a bar or something?
yeah, no, a good friend of mine, more of like a brother of mine.
Yeah,
My brother Saint, he reached out to me. He's got he's performed down at South Padre Island, the spring break, blah 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 blah. Let's try again. So it really comes from like who you know. A lot of times, luckily for me, my brother Saint, he worked with some promoters down in South Padre, and just having that type of relationship with my brother, he's been performing down at the spring break bash in South Padre for the last like 5 years or so, like that. And yeah, he went when he went back to Texas after our school shut down. He went back to Texas, and he reached out to me like one year and was like, "Yo, bro, like, can you make it down here?" Like,
yeah,
and I was like, you know, probably. What's up? Like, what you trying to do? And he was like, opening for Cardi B, man. I want you to be here. I just want you to be here and just support. And I was like, bet. Like, what? I'm there. It's the year before the pandemic, so there wasn't no restrictions. There was nothing,
right.
And yeah, just honestly having that connection with my dog, with my homie. He just pulled some strings and made it happen for that for sure. And then for the baby, um, that was a honest hour. That was a definitely so the same connection with just the promoters and the people down there. Um, but I went down. That's when I went down there on my own and got my own placement for that show, and ended up getting like the whole like my own set. When I opened for Cardi B, I was just kind of with my brother at the time, and we shared a set versus me opening for the baby. Like, this was my own entire set, and in an arena at that too. So that was, yeah. But it all came from just that who and making the connection, and then going and making a good first impression. With the first performances that we did, and we've performed for yeah, quite a few big artists down in Texas for sure.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. It's really really fun to hear about. And did you have the opportunity to meet them or like get to hear from them or their crew?
So with Cardi B, like Cardi B was like when she was going back to her hotel, it was like we didn't get to like kick it back behind the stage or nothing like that. It was like she was a little late, but
Yeah,
but it was Cardi B. They didn't care when she got there. They went nuts, and it was a good time. Um, but yeah, it was like once they're done, they're kind of done. They hop off and then they skate out, because those like spring break shows, they're not like a part of like their tour really. Usually, it's kind of like a stop in between the tours.
okay.
Um, but for all the other artists after Cardi B was post pandemic, so it was a little bit harder to connect and meet with a lot of those guys.
Yeah, I'd imagine, having to stay 6 feet apart, it'd be can't just tap somebody on the shoulder and ask them to be a part of the show. And
You know what I mean? So yeah, yeah. But it's cool though, because like I said, honestly, like for me, like making those, just getting down there and creating the experience for like me and the people around me was like the most important thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming in today. It was amazing having you in. The songs you performed are really, really great. And what's coming down the pipe? Do you got any shows coming up or anything else you'd like to leave the audience with?
Tonight I'm performing at the Union Depot in downtown St. Paul. August the 17th, I am performing at Pimento for the 50th anniversary Hip Hop Twin City Cypher. September 2nd, I'm performing at the Legacy Building. Shout out the Legacy Building, of course. And August 3rd, I'm at the Minnesota Zoo with Illism.